Welcome back to Close Up. Endorsements in New Hampshire are often great fodder for we media types, but translate into little in the way of an actual advantage with voters. However, there's an interesting endorsement dynamic that could play out in the Democratic primary in the 1st Congressional District. Joining us now is Sean O'Connor. He's taking on Carol Shea Porter for that Democratic nomination in the 1st CD. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Great to see you, Adam.
So you're an entrepreneur, a startup guy, and yet you went with Bernie Sanders. That seems like a bit of an odd pairing given his economic message. Was there any dissonance there for you?
No, not at all. I mean, I think to understand why I supported Bernie Sanders, you have to understand sort of where I came from. So none of my grandparents even graduated from high school. So, one of them was a wallpaper hanger. The other one worked at a roofing company. My grandmother raised 3 kids and worked the 3rd shift at a Whitman's chocolate factory. And through their hard work and because of the opportunities that the country offered, my parents were able to go to school and to go to college. My mom became a teacher, and she was a proud member of the NEA for 30 years. My dad, with a scholarship, became a doctor and was able to open a Pay What You Can clinic because he, like I, believed that healthcare is a right, not a privilege. And so, I endorse Senator Sanders because I believe every American deserves those same opportunities. And I think his economic platform, when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to, breaking up the big banks, is going to ensure that everybody in the Granite State and across the country can have those same opportunities that my parents had and that they were able to provide to me because of my grandparents' hard work. I want to make sure that that American dream lives on.
In a way, though, this feels a little inside out because Carol Shea Porter rises out of that progressive base of the Democratic Party, and yet she endorsed Hillary Clinton, who did not do well really among any Democrats or independents here in New Hampshire. Describe for us how you see that contrast playing out in the race. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I also have a strong progressive base. Elizabeth Warren was a professor of mine when I was in law school and heavily influenced my thinking. I do believe that it's important that Wall Street and those who have been fortunate pay their fair share in this country. We have a lot of challenges that face us ahead, and we need to make sure that everybody pays their fair share. And I actually believe that as a business person, I can deliver that progressive message perhaps better than anyone else because I'm, coming from a position of having created many jobs, having run a profitable business, but yet I still believe that, for everyone up and down the socioeconomic ladder, Senator Sanders' programs would be better. I mean, raising the minimum wage to $15 doesn't just benefit those who are at the minimum wage. It benefits the entire economy up and down. That's why Franklin Delano Roosevelt introduced the minimum wage in 1938 was as a consumer stimulus.
You obviously made a wise choice with your endorsement, but have you received any promise from Senator Sanders that he will help you in this primary?
Nope. I have to say I met with Senator Sanders before I decided to endorse him, and I was proud of him that he made very clear that there will be no quid pro quo, that I should expect no promises in the future, and I don't expect any. If he chooses to do something for me, that'll be a choice that he makes of his own choice, separate and apart from my endorsement. I endorsed him because for me this was a matter of principle and conscience. And I think that's what's wrong with Washington is, so many Washington insider politicians are so tied to the money DC special interests that they make their choices based on what's politically convenient. I made my choice based on, my heart and what my family had taught me.
Let's say you do end up winning. You go to Washington and we'll hypothetically say that there is a President Sanders. Are you comfortable enacting an agenda that would necessarily somewhat limit the ability of people in the future to do what you did, which was create this startup and create a lot of economic opportunity for yourself? There would be that argument that this country would have less economic opportunity for entrepreneurs and people moving outside of the normal system to actually create wealth. Do you think that's valid?
No, I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that Senator Sanders is about limiting people's ability to grow. I think he wants everybody to be able to rise up, people from the working class to be able to move into the middle class, and people from the middle class to be able to move up into the upper middle class. I don't think there's anything in his agenda that's about stymieing job growth. I think when we invest in infrastructure, that creates a huge number of jobs. When we improve the education system, that means we're going to have a more educated workforce that can compete more effectively in a global economy. That's going to allow many entrepreneurs to make a lot more money than they can today. If anything, I would say that the situation today holds back entrepreneurship, and Senator Sanders, by giving us a more educated workforce, would have actually made it easier for me to run my company.
But by necessity, you would be raising taxes on middle class and upper income Americans.
I would oppose any attempt to raise, and I think Senator Sanders would agree on this, raising taxes on the middle class. We believe that raising taxes on those those who have been very fortunate. I myself have been fortunate. I am happy to pay additional taxes to make sure that everybody has the same opportunities to be as fortunate as I was. And so, I think number one, it's about, we bailed the Wall Street banks out, and now it's time for them to give back to the middle class. Okay, so the first tax is going to be on Wall Street banks and those who are particularly those who are speculating, which distorts the market, which affects people. Many middle class folks, whether it's teachers in their retirement programs, they have money either through a retirement plan, a pension plan, their own IRA. They have money in the markets that's being manipulated by these big banks and by speculation.
You made money in politics an element of this race. You want to make that an issue in this primary. The criticism coming from the Carol Shea Porter camp is because you're independently wealthy, you have the freedom to essentially do that, sort of reject some of the outside influence money that comes in. What do you say to that criticism that this is essentially the stand you can make because you've done very well personally?
I think that is an attack that is not going to resonate with voters. And, if the former Congresswoman wants to toss attacks at me, she's welcome to do so. I'm not going to respond in kind. What I would say is, I've invested some money of my own in this campaign, and I think that if you look at the great progressives, the Roosevelts, the Kennedys, these were very wealthy families who were willing to invest their wealth in the well-being of the country, and I'm doing the same thing. What's the difference between myself and Carol Shea Porter is she has taken over $1.8 million from DC special interest, and so she is beholden to them. When you invest in your own campaign, you're only beholden to your conscience and to the people of the state of New Hampshire, and that's what I'm going to do. And we raise the vast majority of our money from micro donors across the state and across the country, who, because of my endorsement of Senator Sanders, are standing with me because they see this as the next generation, the future of the progressive movement.
What do you say to a Democrat who supported Hillary Clinton to try and win them over?
Yeah, what I would say is, we have people who work with me who are Hillary supporters. We have obviously a lot of Sanders supporters, but people from both sides of that. What I would say to a Hillary Clinton supporter is, no matter who the Republican nominee is, I'm going to win and hold this seat. Because as a businessman delivering a progressive message, I am what scares the Republicans most. Okay, they've already beaten Carol Shea Porter. They know how to beat her. If you want to win the 1st district, regardless of who you support in the presidential primary, I think I'm your guy.
Sean O'Connor running for the first CD on the Democratic Party side.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. And